certainty. But what if countries do not obey the rules? Big players do not obey the rules. What's going to happen? No, no, that's not a question. That's just a comment, because we're going to continue the search. Okay. Samir, how does India read what is happening now?
Look, thank you for having me and congratulations. And Abla, wish that the Cairo Forum becomes the definitive forum where the world can have conversations. And you become the hub like you were in earlier times of wisdom and progress. And let me start with that particular ethic and just remind everyone that it's not that it's because of the WTO that the Chinese are the largest GDP in the world. Long before the Chinese were the largest GDP, even before the Americans and Europeans got their act together. For 16 of the last 20 years, India and China have been the largest GDPs in world affairs. So thank you, but no thank you. It's not because of the American-led order that all of us have progressed. We were progressing well and good before you discovered us. So I think we have to be a little humble, and we have to agree that there were systemic flaws in the last 75, 80 years of our existence. There were biases and perversions, and there were hypocrisies and double standards, like you rightly mentioned. And that is leading to the unraveling of the design, the template that we saw. And certainly, it would be rich to suggest that those rules and those frameworks and designs were made for the benefit of either China or India or the rest of the world. They were made for the purpose of Pax Americana and for a Western Atlantic and Western European and American order that served you well. And in many ways, what is really happening is the unraveling of that Atlantic order and the birth of a new order, which will require negotiations, which will require a new design, which will require new voices, and perhaps even new templates. So I think there are 4 things that are happening at this time. And Abla, you heard the short take yesterday from me when we were having dinner. But I think these are the 4 things that are happening. Number 1, America, rightly or wrongly, and I say wrongly, but Americans have reached a different conclusion, believes that the last 80 years were unfair to America. And I think it's laughable. But that is the American assessment of the world today, that it was unfair to them, and they are renegotiating their place in the world, and they are doing it like any big, huge power does, picking everyone out individually and alone. They don't care about the blocks and the regional architectures and the larger arrangements. They deal individually with the countries they want to deal with and ignore all the others. So they will deal with Indonesia, not with ASEAN. They will deal with the countries that matter to them across the world, and they will, using their size, their military and economic asymmetry, negotiate favorable deals for them. America is on a mission to establish and repair dominance that they believed had been eroded in the last 80 years of the rules-based order. That's the first thing that is happening. Number 2, China, like any aspiring global superpower should do, is seeing opportunity and is now behaving like the elder in the room. It's behaving like the mature adult that sees benefits in multilateralism, that sees benefits in rules-based order. There are more rules-based order invocations from Beijing in the last 6 months than there have ever been. And in many ways, China is doing what it has already started to do 15 years ago, but with a new sense of opportunity to actually put together a new arrangement that will see China being the elder in the room. So that's the second thing that is happening. The third thing that is happening is a conversation between China and America. And Anna, you are right. They are negotiating, but perhaps it may be a little naive to assume that China agrees on a G2. In China, there is no 2. There is only 1, G1. And China is negotiating with America the terms of American retreat and Chinese ascendancy. And I think that is the third thing that is happening, that through a longer conversation, you will see China set the terms of engagement with the Americans, which, if the Americans reject, could lead to the fragmentation and a bipolar and a new Cold War of some sorts. I think that conversation is far from over. Don't believe the optics coming out of Southeast Asia. I think that is a long conversation that is still had many chapters left in it. But the final and most consequential conversation, as far as I'm concerned, is happening amongst many other countries in the rest of the world. So they are not idle. The world is not waiting for decisions from Beijing or Washington, D.C. Others are responding, maybe not vocally, maybe not in a mediated sense, but there are conversations happening between the EU and India, between India and Mexico, between Mexico and Brazil, and between Brazil and India. You see a large number of countries from the Middle East, Egypt, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and others, to the South Asian continent, subcontinent, to Latin America, having significant conversations that are building new linkages, new resilience, new off-ramps, and new opportunities for their own units. And that fourth conversation, in my view, is actually going to, in many ways, create the undergirding of the new order. It is what the rest of the world is doing with each other is going to moderate and temper what the final G1 will have to deal with. Whether it's the American-led order or whether it's the Chinese-led order, that's still to be decided. But whatever may be the outcome of that conversation, the real order is going to be carved by the rest of the world engaging with each other. And I think in that sense, the Middle East, Europe, and India have a natural role to play. Paulo is a honorary member of the Global South, and Paulo has a role to play in actually, in many ways, going back to the first format and template of globalization, which was largely Europe, Middle East, and South Asia. I think in some sense, we are going to see a reversal to the first principles, and we are going to see the rebuilding of a new arrangement. The old order is not disappeared, it's being instrumentalized.
No, this is the second round, my dear. We're going to give more details on what you expect is going to happen. You said that the UN is failing, China is grabbing the opportunity. Let's see